This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Colorado introducing an author and the founder of the Healing Trauma Institute, where they are breaking the cycles of trauma-related dysfunction through education, support, empowerment, and the healing power of human connection. I'm joined here with the founder, director, and author, Dr. Omar. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Gary. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
I'm going to start off a little bit about yourself. You have quite a background. I mean, you were formally educated at Harvard, earning a master's certificate in global mental health. You are a world-renowned global trauma expert that has extensive experience and expertise working with survivors of trauma. Now, as a board-certified psychiatrist and Harvard-trained trauma expert, how far back in your youth, would you say, did you have a passion for helping others?
Wow. So mainly started when I was only 6 years of age. I lost my sister. She died of brain tumor. She was only 14. So from very, very young age, I knew that I needed to do something with medicine, mainly with the human brain. But I found my cup and I found my passion in psychiatry. I love to listen to people's stories.
Interesting. So we're going back all the way to age 6 when you can remember, I mean, going through something that kind of probably changed your life. Your professional journey started with a desire to mend invisible wounds. After finding that surgery really wasn't for you, can you kind of elaborate on the moment or maybe even the experience that solidified your decision to transfer from emergency medicine to really a more psychological and humanitarian focus, really?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was another trauma when I was 11 years of age. I was almost going to be kidnapped for sexual reasons, unfortunately. And I was able to run away from my kidnapper. But that ignited my passion for helping children live through trauma or even avoid trauma, especially trauma of sexual nature. It can be extremely devastating for the psyche of children. From very, very young age, I knew I needed to do something with the humanitarian and social activities. So I was an emergency room physician in my home country, Libya. And then, unfortunately, the old regime in Libya decided that physicians who are involved in humanitarian activities, they need to be arrested and thrown in jail. Ended up being a refugee in the United Kingdom before coming to the United States. So in 2011, my home country, Libya, went through civil war, if you remember, called the Arab Spring. And I ended up going back and forth many times to Libya, Syria, Bangladesh, many other trauma and war affected zones, and became expert in refugee mental health.
That is quite a story. You have experienced trauma firsthand. I mean, the concept really of invisible wounds became central to your work after your experience right there in England. How did that moment of being told a judge couldn't see your wounds lead you to develop the models of care that you use now today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I applied for asylum in the United Kingdom. And as you said, Gary, like the immigration judge, he said, I'm going to deny your application because I don't see any evidence of physical wounds on your body. So this is what we do. We discriminate against our psychosocial wounds. We don't see the trauma story. And usually this is what causes dysfunction that can span generations. So I wanted to reach out to the children, to the parents before it's too late, because I think the worst thing that we can do is to pass our trauma story to our children. And maybe the best thing that any father or mother can do is to say, the trauma has to stop with me.
Has to stop with me. You have children, you got to talk to your kids. I mean, especially about important situations and topics like that. Like you mentioned, you faced a near kidnapping. I mean, really held at gunpoint, which you say really fueled your passion for protecting children and helping people overcome fear. I mean, you've worked extensively with survivors of trauma. What unique challenges have you encountered when addressing trauma in some of these unique populations that you have?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the biggest thing, most likely, is stigma. There is lots of misunderstanding and taboo and lots of secrecy around trauma, especially trauma that happens in a family context. So many people, they are suffering behind closed doors. Unfortunately, some children are crying themselves to sleep. And I just wanted, rather than to blame anyone for that, to reach out to parents, and because parents have tried their best given their circumstances. Some of us, maybe we didn't have enough tools, maybe we didn't know what to do in order to make sure our children are raised in a safe and a healthy environment. Like being emotionally available for me was more important than being gone all day so I can support my children financially. Yes, they need materialistic needs, but also we cannot forget about their emotional needs. So that's why I always say, never lose the American dream, chasing the American dream. Your family is the American dream.
I love that. I mean, like you say, we have to let these kids kind of express themselves and create an environment that they feel they can do so. I mean, with your experience in both play and art therapy, how do you see creative expression as a tool for healing trauma, especially for children who may not be able to articulate their feelings verbally?
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, I mean, depends on the age of the child, not only the chronological age, but also the emotional age that can be interrupted by traumatic experiences. And based on that, some children might not have the words to say or share what happened to them. So many of them, they will enact their trauma story through behavior. And if I don't understand their behavior, I might actually go and punish them for it. And that's why many children are silent around their caregivers. Many of them, they shut down or lash out because, Gary, like I believe children, when they act out behavior that's non-desirable, they are asking us three very basic questions. The first question, can you see me? If you cannot see me, I'm going to make you see me through difficult behavior, or I'm going to become invisible. The second question, can you hear me? Can you listen to me? Because if you cannot hear me, I'm going to scream louder, or I'm going to become voiceless. And the third question, can I trust you with my basic needs? If I cannot trust an adult with my basic needs, I'm going to do one of two things: either fulfill these needs on my own or completely dismiss that I have any needs. And I see it, and I see it every day, and it breaks my heart.
Those are great questions. I mean, for any parent out there, I'm a parent myself, and you're absolutely right. They're going to be seen one way or the other, and they're going to get your attention. Your company website mentions that the Institute was founded on the writings of Dr. Reda. Were you inspired by the writings of others? And did that kind of push you to write your own books?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my way of healing my trauma is through catharsis. And catharsis, in my case, means writing down my feelings and emotions. So that's why I ended up publishing 8 books, and I'm writing book number 9 right now. Of course, I mean, I stand on the shoulder of many giants in the field of healing trauma. My supervisor, Dr. Richard Mulika, is the head and the founder of the Harvard program in refugee trauma. So I trained under him. Right now, the biggest name in the field is Dr. Gabor Mate. I had the pleasure of working with him also, and many, many wonderful colleagues are doing wonderful work on the ground. The problem with the field of trauma, Gary, because there is that stigma, we don't know what each other are doing. So unfortunately, the impact is usually not that significant. I think if we collaborate rather than compete, that's why I'm very big on collaborating with communities, with institutions, with teams, with organizations, community-based and also non-government and government-based organizations. I think our impact will be bigger. Right now, we seem to be always one step, behind the trauma story.
You're not only standing on the shoulders of these giants, but you're willing to work with them arm in arm. You met with some. That's great. Before we touch on your books, what inspired you to create the Untangled and the Wounded Healer models of care?
Thank you. So yes, I mean, the Healing Trauma Institute has 4 different models under the HTI umbrella. And so the first one, as you indicated, is called Untangled, which is breaking the cycle of transgenerational trauma. And what made me very passionate about that is the disconnect I see between parents and their children. And then, the second one happened during the pandemic. It's called the Wounded Healer. I have seen many, many doctors, nurses, therapists, social workers, many people on the front lines, they leave the field of caregiving because they are burning out. Some of them, unfortunately, they're coping with their burnout through self-medication, maybe substance. Some of them, unfortunately, even died by suicide. When that happened, I couldn't stay silent anymore. So I needed to bear witness, and I wrote that book in the year 2020. And then there are other books that created other models. One of them has to do with the faith-based healing, dialogue, talking about people from different backgrounds, because I think we have more in common than what divides us. And right now we are facing lots of hate and division and alienation. And that's really a shame because we are passing that hatred to our children.
Yep. I mean, like you say, these were things you've seen, but these are things the entire world's seen. They were on full display in 2020. I mean, your book, The Wounded Healer, addresses burnout among caregivers. What inspired you to focus on that particular topic in the year of 2020, besides it was the main thing in the media? And what do you believe is the biggest misconception about self-care for those in the healing professions?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for me, it was not only in the media. I could see it every day with my own eyes, working inside the hospital. And, we were essential workers, so we did not miss a single day of work. And when you see your colleagues are really, really struggling, some of them, they cannot hug their children. Some of them, they cannot go home to their elderly parents. There was lots of loneliness, lots of alienation and isolation. So that's why I wanted to do work on that. And when you speak with the caregivers, and remember, caregivers are not only doctors and nurses. I believe that also teachers, I believe parents, I hear faith and community leaders. All of us are on the front lines. You guys in the TV, industry, you see things many times, and you need to process these emotions before you go to your loved ones. Because I believe if we don't process that restless energy, we might take it on our families. So I wanted to do that, but the one misconception I really wanted to talk about is that something that we learn in our professional schools, that the client always comes first, that my emotions as a psychiatrist are not important, that if I show any feelings, that mean I'm going to be a burden to my team mates, I'm going to be labeled as weak. I'm going to be sent to my supervisor office or human resources. Maybe I lose my license. So all of these things we need to unlearn. And also there is that misunderstanding that we need to be everything for everyone all the time. And people actually, they completely burn out and they run out of energy. My belief is try your best to do a good job today, and then go and take care of your family. Go and have good night of sleep, because tomorrow there is another journey.
You can't help others if you can't take care of yourself as well. That balance is critical. I mean, during 2020, I interviewed many nurses that were on the front lines, and what you're saying is 100% true. They were going through these same challenges. You write about breaking cycles of secrecy and stress. What practical advice can you offer a caregiver who recognizes they are experiencing this burnout, but maybe they feel they can't show vulnerability, like you say?
Absolutely. So the good news for somebody who has the insight, that's the first step. I mean, you cannot manage a situation until you become aware of it. So in order for self-management to happen, there should be self-awareness first. Many caregivers don't even have the self-awareness, don't have that insight. That's why I believe, Gary, it's very, very important that in addition to having the insight, we have the social support of people around us who can give me a feedback. They say, hey, Omar, today your body language, your tone of voice, your behavior is not matching your core beliefs and the values that you want to live with. And if you are not living according to your value, it's usually because of one of two things. Either you are missing a basic need that you need to meet, or maybe you are lacking a skill, coping skill that you need to learn. So I would say, when it comes to people struggling with, this kind of, burnout, and it's not only burnout, there are many things that can happen also when you listen to the story of other people, especially stories of pain and distress. There's something called the vicarious trauma. That means I'm going to be traumatized because I listen and I'm very compassionate about others. There's something called moral injury. Many times we witness the suffering of others and we feel helpless. We cannot do anything to support them. So all of these things can very, very deeply touch our soul. So that's why I always talk about healing our soul, taking care of our restless soul, and also taking care of our inner child. Many of us, Gary, we did not receive everything that we need in order to be raised as healthy and safe children. Our parents tried their best. Our caregivers, maybe they lacked some coping skills. They lacked some tools. So in order for us to show compassion to everybody in the room, I think we need to break these cycles of secrecy, because they are passing from one generation to another and causing lots of dysfunction.
Speaking of being raised in different environments, your book Untangled is really a go-to empowerment guide for parents and caregivers of traumatized children. I mean, as a trauma survivor yourself, what unique insights did you bring to the book that a professional without that personal experience might not have, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it gives you credibility when you are somebody with lived experience. So this is very important. Many times we try to dictate an approach. I try to maybe put an intervention for a community that I have never met before. And I think that's very hostile and arrogant approach. We see many organizations, they self-deploy to refugee camps, to war-affected zones, and they are asked to leave because people tell them you are not respecting the context, the culture, the religion. So for me, having a student attitude is very important. Before I go anywhere, I reach out to the organizations on the ground. I ask them about the specific needs. What are the current services? What are the gaps in the delivery? And does my expertise match what they need? And then I will go, or I do something virtually with them. So never create something for an organization or a community. Co-create with them. Use their voice and empower them, because they should be part of the solution, not only part of the problem.
Interesting. I mean, let's going back to your first book, On the Shoulders of the Prophet. It presents the Prophet Muhammad as a safe role model. What aspects of his life and teachings do you feel are most relevant for youth today in the context of mental health and maybe well-being?
I mean, I believe every religion, every faith, every spiritual background, every prophet has a toolkit that brought to their companions, to their communities. So being emotionally available is one thing that was very, important for our prophets, all of them, peace be upon all of them, from Adam all the way to Muhammad. I believe all of them, they brought one single message, a message of humanity and love for your brothers and sisters. But being emotionally available, being non-judgmental, and being able to listen more than talk. And when people come to you with any issues, rather than try to fix them, try to listen to them. Tell them, come closer, tell me what's going inside of you, and then provide the necessary intervention only after you listen.
Let me ask you this, Doctor, from your first book to your most recent, you provide real solutions. I mean, recently, why was it important to provide a toolkit for trauma survivors with 365 tools in healing possibilities?
Yeah, that's my latest book, and I'm working on book number 9, but it's not finished yet. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I believe that we have not only the possibility, but also the responsibility to heal, and not only for ourselves, but also for our loved ones and future generations. So I tried my best to give a very concrete and action item and practical tools that you can apply with your loved ones, with your community members, with the people that you serve. That's why I think Healing Trauma Institute, having these very concrete 4 models to break the cycles of transgenerational trauma, the cycle of the caregiver trauma, the cycle of faith-based hatred, and also taking care of people from different backgrounds rather than alienating them. And I do each model based on 5 different components. If you can allow me just to very briefly touch on those. The first component is psychoeducation. So we do lots of education in order to combat stigma. The second component is to do capacity building through training of trainers, because I don't want this to die after I am gone. When you train a team or a community, they're going to continue this message after you are gone. And I am available for consultation, supervision, advising, coaching when I finish training of trainer with a community. And then providing safe spaces, because many times there are difficult conversations that we need to have in order to heal. So providing a safe space for people to come and open up is very, very important for me. For children, usually I do it through play and art therapy. And with adults, I do it through dialogue. And then the number 4 is building culturally and context-specific resources. So if a community is asking for intervention crisis team or a hotline, we have the capacity and the expertise to do that. And finally, some people will need the clinical services. So we can build together with the community a clinic, and we can engage in medication management, psychotherapy, and so on.
Wow. We're talking about 4 pillars right there that really hold up and basically are the basis for what you do and your vision is. Dr. Omar, you've worked on global projects and you've collaborated with organizations like the UN and even WHO. Before we let you go, what is the most important lesson you've learned from these large-scale humanitarian efforts, and how maybe the role of human connection in your approach may differ?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the biggest lesson is there is no one size that fits all. So let us be humble, let us be flexible, let us be curious. When we reach into different people, that they are really not different than us. Most of the trauma that happens because of relational ruptures, because of human disconnection, and most of the healing will happen actually because of human reconnection. And there is a wonderful book called What Happened to You, and not what's wrong with you. Usually our approach is what's wrong with you, but what happened to you means I am curious about your trauma story. And in that book, the author said most of the healing happens outside the therapy room, happens in our everyday intimate interpersonal connections.
I believe that. I know this is rewarding work for you. I know this is really your life's mission, if you will, and it's definitely an honor for me to introduce this not only to the public, to my audience as well. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is his website, where you can learn more about his organization. I mean, what services he provides, and find all his writing in both blogs as well as books. The Institute's publications, his resources, and his books really complement his in-person services to reach an even wider audience. Once again, that is Dr. Omar of the Healing Trauma Institute. The healing power of human connection is building a better world for future generations. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.